The thoughts and opinions expressed in this video are entirely my own and are not representative of Sega, any of its studios or brands. I do not work directly on Sonic the Hedgehog, nor am I privy to any advanced information. I am just one of the biggest fans in the world, living out my dream of working at my favourite publisher. With that being said, let's get on with the video. Hey everyone, how's it going? It's me, Calamity. Now before we get into this video, I'd just like to apologise because I know this video is severely overdue. I said I was going to review this show when it came out, but unfortunately I had a little setback due to some diabetic issues. I went blind in one eye for a short amount of time right before I was headed off to New York with Jess on holiday, and it was really fucking scary, but I'm better now. I can see, which is really good. I've got to have some surgery this week to you know, prevent more problems in the future. So I just wanted to apologize because as a small YouTuber, you know, you guys that watch these videos mean the world to me. You really do. The fact that you come to my little space, my little corner of YouTube, and you come to hear my opinions on things, you know, it really means a lot to me, and I don't like letting you guys down, and I feel like I kind of did with this one, so I do apologize for that. I am on the mend, and therefore we are here to review Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender. Let's get right into it. So, Avatar. Now, I loved this series. I absolutely loved it. 8 episodes, an hour long. Absolutely loved it. But there's been a lot of discourse, and I want to get into all of this. So what are my thoughts overall on the show? I thought the casting was fantastic. Some of the acting in places could be a little better, with Aang particularly, but he's a child actor, and he really did encapsulate the way I feel a child would behave in this scenario. Now, I know there's a lot of people that are comparing it to the animated series, and we will get into that later in the video. But I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed his performance. I really enjoyed Sokka's performance. I thought he was tonally on point, very similar to the character from the show. His humour, I really enjoyed his humour. His eating habits, things like that. His constant struggle to find love. Really enjoyed that part of it. Katara, I really enjoyed. Zuko, fantastic. Fantastic casting there. Did a fantastic job with that one. Iroh, absolutely loved him. Really just the Uncle Iroh that I have known and loved for decades at this point. Really loved that performance. Ozai, I thought was a really welcome addition. I know that in the animated show he's not brought until later, but I felt it was a really welcome addition. He felt menacing, and particularly his relationship with Azula. Now, I absolutely love Azula. Azula is one of my favourite characters in all of fiction. I love what was done with Azula in this. It's set up more for her. And by the way, before I really dive into this, I should just say, you know, there will be full spoilers in this. So I really love what they're doing with Azula, and the whole thing of her having another reason besides, well, not besides, but outside of the sibling rivalry with Zuko. If Zuko succeeds, he will become Fire Lord one day, and she ain't having that. She thinks she deserves to be Fire Lord, and therefore it sets up more of a conflict between the two that I really enjoyed. You know, what we'll see in season 2 with Zuko and Azula. Don't get me wrong, I wish her fire was blue all the time. I know we got a glimpse of it, but at the same breath, they're going to add something to this show in the sense that I think we're going to get an explanation for why her fire is blue. The original creators never really gave us that, and as much as I love that show, I think it's one of the best things ever made. I like they're giving this extra explanation, or at least will do in the future. I really like Suki. I thought she was fantastically cast. June was brilliant. Who am I missing? Everyone across the board, really. You know, Master Parku, Yue. I've never been a big fan of the Yue character, but I think the actress does a good enough job with what she's given. And I really like the casting. I think the casting and performances were very good. As I said, there are places for improvement on the acting, but that's everything, you know. And I'm not going to take this. I know there are going to be Avatar fanboys who are, oh, well, it was perfect in the original show. It wasn't. I'm sorry. I love the original show, okay? I've seen it more times than most people watching this have had hot dinners. I was there to watch it air, live on Nickelodeon, okay? That show is not perfect. It's one of the greatest shows ever made, but it has flaws. And I've seen a lot of people acting like that show just doesn't have any flaws and it's perfect, and they should have followed it 1-to-1. And I didn't want that. I did not want a 1-to-1 recreation in this show. I wanted something that stood on its own, and I feel this really does that. And one of the ways that it does do that is it combines a lot of episodes together, and tonally they really fit. Like, you have the jet stuff, the Cave of Two Lovers in Omashu, which I thought was brilliant. It really, really synced up well. The Boomy stuff, Boomy's motivations don't make as much sense to me in this. It seems like more he was trying to test Aang to make sure he was ready to be the Avatar. But he just came across as kind of a bit of a dick, to be honest, which, again, he kind of did in the original show. I'm not being funny, but why would you put your friend's life at risk so that he remembers your name because he hasn't seen you in 100 years? Like, again, I know we like to have this standard that the original show is perfect, but, like, I've seen a lot of people criticize Boomy, and it's fair to criticize, but at the same time, let's stop pretending like it was perfect in the first place, because it really wasn't. The Spirit World stuff is combined with the Heibai stuff, rather, is combined with the Ko storyline, which I really liked. I know that he doesn't do the whole emotion thing, and that annoys a lot of people, but I like how it was done. And the other thing is, again, comparing it to the animated show, Aang showed emotion and didn't get his face taken. Just because he wasn't looking at his face, they never set that as a parameter. You know, we have to... Oh, okay, we'll get onto that, because this is my biggest issue with what the fans are saying. So, yeah, we had all that stuff combined. They brought in some stuff from Korra and the comics, which I thought was really cool. Like the Fog of Lost Souls and the Mother of Faces. Really cool. Anyone that says the creators of this show didn't give a shit about the source material are lying to themselves, okay? Just because they changed it doesn't mean they didn't love it, and they don't have respect for it, because they clearly do. Now, one thing I will say about the show is the pacing is a little off. It seems very rushed in places, and we don't get to know the characters in the same way. Now, I personally didn't have an issue with this because I know these characters. I know them well. I've spent decades of my life rewatching the original series, and I know these characters better than I know myself at this point. But at the end of the day, it maybe could have done with 2 more episodes. I feel 2 more episodes could have really helped this get to where it needed to be. It just was slightly too short. Now, someone did point out to me in a Facebook comment section, and you know how we love those, that the show and the original show and this show have about the same runtime in terms of actual hours, so they should have just done a 1-to-1 adaptation. And I don't agree with that, because what a lot of people don't seem to understand is a show where you have half an hour episodes cannot be directly translated in the same way into hour-long episodes. What, are you just going to start and stop into the next episode every half an hour? It doesn't work like that. Otherwise, you would just do half-an-hour episodes. And that, again, would be a straight recreation, which is not what I wanted. I wanted an adaptation, a fresh take. Put it this way. Why would I want the exact same show in live action when I could just watch the original? There's something different to take here, and something that makes me come back and keep watching it. I've watched this show through 3 times, and I'm probably going to start my 4th very soon. I really, really enjoyed it. And I guess at this point we are getting into my issues with what people are saying. No, actually, let's just focus on a few things that I did like from the show that translated over. The Zuko-Iroh relationship, to me, is perfection. It's one of my favourite relationships, again, in fiction. I love that relationship. And it's done so beautifully here. You know, I absolutely love every second. Apologies, I'm like burping. I'm loving every second of their relationship, and I can't wait to see how it flourishes. Team Avatar rather, sorry. I really like their dynamic. I do question Katara and Aang falling in love, because this is going to sound really shallow, but it's just the height difference. It makes them seem so much different in age. But, you know, looking at Aang now, the actor, and I've forgotten all of the actors' names. I'm terrible with names. I apologise. The actor for Aang has clearly grown up a fair bit since this was filmed, because this was filmed during COVID. So he looks older now. He doesn't look so out of place next to the actress that plays Katara. So I'm not going to, like, hold on that too much. I think that's going to develop. I think that will become okay, but just in this first season, I didn't really feel like they were going to be in love and have Tenzin, Kaya, and Bumi as children, but, you know, it will get there. So, not too worried about that. Sokka and Suki, absolutely love that relationship. Now, I didn't like the fact, originally, they took out Sokka's sexism, because it was a big part of his character in that particular episode, where he learned that being sexist is wrong. And I really have this belief that shows like this can aspire and educate and teach. So instead of pretending sexism doesn't exist in the world, because it absolutely bloody does, I would rather have a sexist hero that learns the error of his ways. Because you know what that does for young, impressionable men and women watching this? They can learn to change their ways. And I think that's very important. So I was worried about that being left out of the show. But in actuality, I felt his arc was still valid. He still learned a valuable lesson in becoming a warrior. Because they kind of go on this path that Sokka isn't the greatest warrior. And that's true in the animated series. Look at when Zuko first attacks in the animated series. You know, he gets his ass handed to him in seconds. Now, the fight between Zuko and Sokka in this at the Southern Water Tribe, fantastic. Absolutely loved it. Love Zuko, love Sokka. I'm going to spend the whole thing talking about Zuko if I talk about characters. Zuko is perfect in this, man. He is absolutely perfect. And I watched an interview with Dante Basco recently where the two actors were sat together, the two people to play Zuko, and Dante Basco was just throwing praise at the actor. I forget the name, I'm so sorry. Threw praise at him about how amazing his performance was, and I completely agree. I think he was absolutely brilliant. You know, Azula, as I've said previously, I love Azula. She is just... I love the character so much. And in this, I really enjoyed her. And I see a lot of people say, like, oh, Azula's awful. Oh, it's the worst thing about the show. Mate, as the authority on Azula, again, one of my favourite characters in all of fiction, joint second with Zuko, Shadow the Hedgehog being the first. She was done right. She was done beautifully. I love seeing how she conquered Omashu at the end, and how it was all like the setup at the beginning, where you see that plans were from the Fire Nation to attack Ba Sing Se, when really they were attacking the air nomads because it was a deliberate distraction. Those plans were meant to leak out. That's what Ozai does at the end with the Northern Water Tribe. He sends Zhao to attack the Northern Water Tribe. Well, really, that wasn't the focus. Azula has gone for Omashu, and it worked beautifully. Absolutely love that. Cannot wait to see how Season 2 develops her character, how it develops Ozai, the relationship there. I love that he is gaslighting his children. God, that's a messed up sentence to say, but I love it. He is an absolute gaslighter. He is playing his children off against each other because he is a sick, maniacal, evil man. And that's what I want from a villain. Really and truly. I was slightly worried that Netflix were going to make him the relatable villain, and they really didn't. He is a mustache-twirling bad guy, like Dr. Eggman, and I love it. I absolutely love it. So, I think that's all the gushing I can do. I will say my one problem, and I want to preface this with something I've said previously that makes me a hypocrite, but it is okay to change things from the source material, as long as they fit the theme of the story you're trying to tell, right? I don't like that Aang doesn't learn waterbending at all. He doesn't even attempt to waterbend once. It's a big part of Book 1. It's the whole... one of the purposes of Book 1. And with this, they go into a more of an idea of him learning to access the Avatar state. And a cool journey. A journey that he needs to go on. But that journey goes hand in hand with him learning the elements in the original show. So I wasn't a big fan of that. But I haven't seen season 2. So I don't know how that's all going to factor into the story there. And I'm not going to throw any shade at that, really. Like, it doesn't ruin the show for me. I just wish he would do some waterbending. It's important, Aang. You got a world to save. Do some waterbending. But hey ho, you know. That is my one thing that I didn't like about the show. But again, will not ruin it for me. Fans need to realise that things are going to change. And that's okay. I've heard every sort of complaint come out about this show. The acting is awful. No, it's not. I'm sorry. What are you on? There are moments where the acting could be better. But there's no way in hell of saying the acting in this is bad. The effects are bad. No, they're not. What are you talking about? For the love of God, go watch The Flash. That's a $200 million movie with some of the worst special effects I've ever seen. And these effects shit all over that. And this didn't cost as much money as The Flash. This didn't cost as much money as a Star Wars or a Marvel. Like, come on. Don't let your biases make you come out with absolutely ridiculous statements, because some of these statements are fucking trash, man. The show is just awful. No, it's not. There are things you didn't like about it because you wanted a one-to-one adaptation. And in fact, I'm going to preface that. I don't even think these people wanted an adaptation. These people didn't want this show to happen. End of. And it's like they used the original creators leaving the show as like their line in the sand, where like no matter what it was like, whether this was the best production in the world, they were going to hate it. Because, oh, we're Avatar purists. I'm sorry to have to tell you this. And again, let me preface this. If you didn't like this show, that's okay. You're entitled to your opinion. I have no problem with that. You're allowed to like it, dislike it, whatever. That's fair enough. But saying, like, this is worse than the M. Night Shyamalan movie, you're just trash. Your opinion is completely invalidated when you say something like that, in my opinion. Like, in my opinion, maybe invalidated by saying that to you. Who knows? Like, subscribe, all that jazz. But it just... I don't know, man. It rubs me up the wrong way when I hear all this, because what I've noticed with Avatar fans recently, and I didn't realise how bad this fan base can be. The Avatar fan base was focused on, Korra would smoke Aang. Oh, Aang would smoke Korra. That was like that was the argument that just kept going back and forth. And I was like, this is kind of toxic, but okay. Now it has turned to, if you like this show, you're not a real fan. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen this online. Now, let me tell you my credentials. As I said, I watched this air on Nickelodeon when it came out back in the mid-2000s. I was a teenager. I have then bought the DVD box sets. Okay? I then bought the Blu-ray set. I have rewatched it and rewatched it multiple times a year until I am now 30 years old. Then it went to Netflix, and I showed Jess it and made Jess fall in love with it. We're now watching Korra and I'm making her fall in love with that. You know, I have seen this show more times than most people have had hot dinners. Alright? I have my credentials. This fan base has become really toxic. And it goes both ways. If you're attacking people that didn't like it, saying they're not real fans either, shut the fuck up. Honestly, this is ridiculous. When did the Avatar fan base become the Star Wars fan base or League of Legends? Really and truly. People can enjoy it. People can not enjoy it. Stop questioning whether they're real fans. What the fuck is a real fan? Like, oh, it blows my mind. I've seen more people attacked for liking the show than anything else. These sad little losers online. In fact, I think I saw one person who was going around reacting everyone that was saying they enjoyed it, berating them with comments, and his profile picture was, "I'm right, you're wrong." Just text. He didn't have an actual picture of himself, and I just face palmed and started laughing. Some of these people are just absolute wet wipes, right? And that's on both sides, okay? Both sides. Those who enjoyed it, who are saying that people who didn't enjoy it are not fans and all that, you're in the same category, trust me. But what I don't agree with is it's very clear that the people who are criticizing this show don't really know too much about television, film, production, anything like that. And I'm quite lucky that I come from a background in my career of working in that kind of thing, and now working in the gaming industry for Sega. So, you know, I know a lot about how the machine churns out its material, and this isn't a bad show. I really implore you, if you think this is a fundamentally bad television show, there's some stuff that you need to watch to really gain some perspective. There's been a lot of people sending like hate comments and death threats to the cast. Fuck you all. There's no space on the internet for sending death threats to people. I really hope that would have died out, and unfortunately it keeps being a thing. We keep seeing it every year, death threats to different people over different things. Just stop, man. Realize what you're doing. Like, oh, it drives me insane. It really does. But in, summary, the Avatar series deals with balance, and we need to find that as a community. I feel we need to come together, talk about things we liked, talk about things we didn't like, stop ridiculing other people for their opinions. Unless your opinion is, again, this is hypocritical of me, unless your opinion is, this is shit, this is a trash show, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry. You can not enjoy it. You can't say it's a bad show, because it's not a bad show. But the Avatar community really needs to come together here, because this is the great divide of the Avatar community. I've never seen things so split before and so aggressive. Like, calm down, everyone. Calm down. It's going to be okay. I loved Avatar: The Last Airbender, the Netflix production. I cannot wait for season 2 and 3. They have been announced now, so very much looking forward to that. And I hope they give them a few more episodes to kind of flesh it out a bit more, because book 2 is dense, man. It is dense. There is a lot of stuff to get through. So 10, 12 episodes, I think we'll be able to cover it all. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I personally loved every second of it. I was smiling, crying, all of that. So there it is. There is my review of Avatar: The Last Airbender, as promised, and my thoughts on the general fan discourse that's been going on recently. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments below, and please keep it civil. I don't want to see people attacking each other. If I see that, I'm removing your comments. End of. And I know YouTubers get a lot of flack for removing comments, but I don't want to foster a channel that is I don't want to have a channel that's fostering hatred. Okay? I want things clean in the comments. So if you leave a comment, please be respectful to each other and nice about it. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Slap a like on it. Hit subscribe. I am planning on coming out with a bit more Avatar content on some various different things. And of course, I have some other content in the pipeline. Obviously, because of the whole blindness thing, I really had to part things on the back bench. I was able to put out the Twitch footage of me on the official Sega stream, though, because that wasn't too difficult for me to edit with one eye. So please go and give that a view if you have a second. That was a real honor for me, and a moment that I'm truly proud of, and I'm really glad that I'm allowed to put that up on the channel. So thank you to to my amazing friend Marilia for allowing me to do that. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.